I need to start the show today with the Dalvin Cook news. After much anticipation, much drama, and we're waiting to see where Dalvin Cook will go. And for a while, I thought that Aaron Rodgers definitely wanted Dalvin Cook. And I said this from the moment he was released, from people that I talked to, Aaron Rodgers is going to recruit Dalvin Cook. The question became, did Dalvin Cook want the Jets? And I did think for a bit that he was using the Jets as leverage to land in Miami. Miami did not go to the salary that the Jets were willing to go to. And after all the waiting, boom, Dalvin Cook winds up with the Jets. And if you're a Jet fan today, this just continues the offseason of really greatness for you, where for the first time in forever, you could go into a season and dream big. You look at this Jets team, Aaron Rodgers, your soon-to-be Hall of Fame quarterback. You got Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall cooking up some magic at the running back position. You have the reigning offensive and defensive rookies of the year in Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner. And oh yeah, by the way, you have an elite defense. The expectations for the Jets should be sky high. And depending on how far the Jets will go this year is all based off of one unit. And it's a unit that never gets any respect. It's a unit that usually only gets blame, but it's the most essential part to a football team. And that's the big boys up front. Right? How many times you hear the cliche, the battle in the trenches? The only concern I have about the Jets entering this season is, will their offensive line be good enough? Because if that offensive line is good enough, this is a Jets team that can accomplish anything this year. And I was skeptical for a while calling them a Super Bowl contender. And I'm really strict in how many teams I allow into that Super Bowl contending conversation. And I have the Bills in there, the Bengals in there, the Chiefs in there, the Eagles in there, and the 49ers in there. The Jets are in that conversation now. And if you're a Jets fan, you should be thrilled. And it may not work out, but at least you could go into a season and not be scouting the first round of quarterbacks for next year, or be wondering if your team's even going to be in it in Thanksgiving or by Christmas time. Because I don't know what the Jets are going to accomplish this year, but if you tell me they're going to win the AFC East, I can't say you're wrong. If you tell me they're going to be in an AFC championship game, I can't tell you you're crazy. And even though Aaron Rodgers, in an easier situation in Green Bay and in an easier conference in the NFC, has come up short a bunch in the postseason, of recent memory when he had the number one seed twice and lost to the Bucs, lost to the 49ers at Lambeau Field. If you tell me that the Jets and Aaron Rodgers are in the Super Bowl this year, I'm not going to say it. But any other year, if you tell me the Jets are going to be in the Super Bowl, I would shoot you down. I can't do it right now. Because you look at this Jets team, they should be a successful team this year. And there's many different ways how to justify or how to evaluate and determine success. For some Jets fans, it may just be getting to an AFC championship game. For other Jets fans, it may be winning division. Or for a lot of Jets fans, it's winning a Super Bowl. Because you haven't done that since Joe Willie Namath made the guarantee back in 1969. So when you evaluate this team, and this is coming from a Patriot fan, there's not a lot of things where you go, I don't like this about the Jets. I don't love this about the Jets. And the only two that I could really think of is the offensive line, which is a major question mark. And then also, is this head football coach, Robert Saleh, the real deal? And the last 2 years, he hasn't had any expectations. He seems to be a player coach. The players seem to really like him. But if he doesn't make the playoffs this year, Robert Saleh will be gone. He won't be the coach next season. But I would be shocked. And sometimes, right, you get caught up in these stories and these teams that come about, and they kind of form these all-star teams, and they usually don't meet expectations. But for bare minimum, and once again, I don't know how far the Jets take it this year. I still probably think it will be the divisional round where they'll get in the postseason as a wild card team. They'll win a playoff game, and then they'll lose in the divisional round to a Kansas City, to a Cincinnati, whoever it may be. But bare minimum, I would be shocked if the Jets aren't in the playoffs this year. And that's in a loaded AFC. Just look at their division. Fighting for that one spot in the AFC East, you have Buffalo, who has won the division the last 3 years. You have the Miami Dolphins, who all they need is Tua Tagovailoa to stay healthy. You have the Jets with Aaron Rodgers. You're splitting hairs between all three of those teams. The Dolphins, as I said, their biggest concern is Tua. The Bills, their biggest concern is will Von Miller be healthy? And can that defense make the timely stop? And then for the Jets, it's once again that offensive line. But look how close those teams are just inside the AFC East. Then you get out of the AFC East. In the AFC North, you have a great Bengals team. You have an exciting Ravens team with Lamar Jackson. Would anyone be surprised that the Browns or the Steelers make the playoffs this year? I wouldn't be. Then you see the AFC South. The Jaguars are a really good young up-and-coming team that were in the division round last year. And then in the AFC West, you have the standard in the year of 2023 of Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce with the Kansas City. How about those Chiefs? But then also in that division, Chargers are loaded with talent. Can Russ bounce back with the Denver Broncos? We're getting ready, as it's the 15th day of August in the year of 2023, to embark on one of the more entertaining years that we're ever going to see out of the NFL just inside the AFC. And what makes this so fun is on paper, it's going to be really tough to find out and see who finds a way to get to those final 7 teams where you have your 4 division winners and then your 3 wildcard teams. Where then you look at the NFC, it's a complete antithesis. In the NFC, it's, all right, the Eagles are great. 49ers are great, but what is Brock Purdy going to be this year? Will Trey Lance or Sam Darnold ever see the field? And then after that, I can't trust the Cowboys. I'll trust the Cowboys to win 10, 11, 12 games, but I can't trust them in a postseason game. Is this the Lions' year? How much are the Vikings going to regress? Who's going to find a way to get to the top of the crappy NFC South? And I like Seattle. I think Seattle could be the 3rd best team in the NFC, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you Geno Smith is playing in the Super Bowl this year. So look how much of a struggle it is to find the 7 teams in the NFC. And just giving you names, because there's not a lot of appealing options. In the AFC, it's a struggle to get to 7 because of, on paper, how great these teams are. But entering this season, there's no doubt about it, the biggest storyline entering the 2023 NFL season are the Jets, Jets. And who would have ever thought that? But Aaron Rodgers picks that team. You bring in Dalvin Cook. You had a team last year that won 7 games that had a kick-ass defense, but their offense gave you nothing. And now there are high expectations for the Jets. If you're a Jets fan, you got to thank your general manager, Joe Douglas. You really got to thank Aaron Rodgers from coming out of the darkness retreat and saying, I want to go to the New York Jets. You know, for the Jets to land a star quarterback, I guess it's only fitting that the quarterback had to enter a dark cave to then come out of that dark cave and say, I want to be a part of the New York Jets. But you look at the team that they have assembled, they're right there. I'm not telling you they're Kansas City. I'm not telling you they're Cincinnati. You got to prove it. But there's not a lot of reasons to doubt the Jets. And Samter, you've been a Jets fan your entire life. They should probably pay for your therapy bills for rooting for this team. But you look at this team, and I'm just curious, the Jet fan entering this season. Because some Jet fans will be like, hey, I'm embracing the expectations. We've never been in this spot in my lifetime. We want to be in the penthouse. I'm expected to be at the penthouse at the end of the year. Or there's the Jet fan that goes, it's all fine and dandy now. It's all good right now, but just wait. At one point, we'll be tweeting out, just end the season, same old Jets. Where are you when Michael Samter wakes up this morning? You see the Dalvin Cook news. You know Dalvin Cook last night agreed to go to the Jets. Breece Hall is now off is back and is going to be practicing off the PUP list, I believe. So there are the makings of a team that looks to be really good. But there's one thing to look like you're going to be really good, and there's another thing to do that on a football field. So on a scale of 1 to 10, Samter, 1, same old Jets. They're going to rip your heart out. They're going to ruin your life this year, and you're going to be walking around the CBS Sports Radio newsroom with a lot of egg on your face. Or 10, they're going to win the bleeping Super Bowl. Where is Michael Samter at?
I'm like a 6, right? I'm looking at 10, 11 wins, divisional round, maybe AFC Championship game, but I don't think they're winning the Super Bowl. But I also don't think that they're going to bleep the bed. I think they're going to be really good. I mean, you look at the defense. Not only is the defense stacked just from every single position, they're deep, right? Jermaine Johnson is not even a starter. Will McDonald, their first-round pick, is killing it so far in the preseason. State, yeah. And he's like their third string on that side of the ball. Their defensive secondary is great. Their special teams are good. You mentioned the offensive line, and, of course, that is a huge question mark, especially with Mekhi Becton. But the other question mark is the wide receivers. I understand Garrett Wilson is a legit number one, potential superstar in the making.
He had 1,100 yards last year with no quarterback.
Yes. He is a true, legit Justin Jefferson level potential number one wide receiver.
Okay.
Then you've got Corey Davis, Allen Lazard, Mecole Hardman, and Randall Cobb. None of those guys have had 1,000 yards in a decade, right? They haven't had above 600 yards ever, basically. Mecole Hardman has done nothing. Allen Lazard has done nothing. Corey Davis, after that one good year with the Titans, has done nothing. So, they're putting a lot of expectations on Garrett Wilson. And I understand that, a guy like Aaron Rodgers makes receivers good, but, he only could do so much with Allen Lazard. Randall Cobb is 33. Mecole Hardman's a good speed guy, but, you're not relying on Mecole Hardman or Charles Irvin. Jason Brownlee, an unrestricted free agent for a draftee, looks really good in camp, but you're not relying on him. There's a lot on Garrett Wilson. And if Garrett Wilson gets doubled or, God forbid, gets hurt, I think the Jets' offense is a lot more vulnerable than people think it is based on both the offensive line and the wide receiver group.
No question. You lose Garrett Wilson.
They got a lot of number 3 receivers, no number 2s.
That star presence does go away at the wide receiver position, but Allen Lazard with Aaron Rodgers is a number 2 wide receiver. He did that in...
No, he's not.
Yes, he did. He did it in Green Bay with Devontae Adams. And last year...
Yeah, he was the worst number 2 receiver in the NFL.
No, that's not true. He put up 800 yards last year and played in 15 games for a team where Aaron Rodgers was hurt last year.
Right.
I'm telling you, Allen Lazard...
But he was the number 1 last year.
But here's what you're missing. He has the trust of Aaron Rodgers. And it doesn't matter. Sure. It does not matter in terms of who your wide receivers are. It's who Aaron Rodgers trusts. And I'll welcome you into football when you actually have a great quarterback. If the quarterback is that great, he finds a way to make everyone around him better. There was a guy, you may have heard of him, who's now retired, Tom Brady, outside of Randy Moss. Now I'm talking about just receivers, not tight ends. Who were the great wide receivers that he had? He made Wes Welker. He made Julian Edelman. We saw what Brady was able to do with Troy Brown, Danny Amendola. So it comes down to 2 things this year. What does the offensive line do? And then can Aaron Rodgers stay healthy and take that next step in where for so many years it's Rodgers has 1 Super Bowl. But is he going to get that second? Is he going to get to a second Super Bowl? And for some years in Green Bay, you could blame the defense. You could blame the special teams. You could blame the coaching. You could blame the front office. But the last 2 times Rodgers had a legit shot, NFC title game, he bleeped the bed at home. His offense was dreadful. And then in the division round, up against the 49ers, touchdown right out of the gate, and then nothing after that. Ultimately, I don't want to hear about the wide receivers. Oh, they may not have enough. You have Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron Rodgers has the time, that should be enough, bare minimum, to have you playing in the divisional round weekend when we get into January. Stu, so Samter, what would you say? You're at a 6.5? Is that correct?
6.5 sounds about right.
Which I think that's fair for someone that's been so tortured for so many years. A 6.5 is pretty damn optimistic. Stu, you're a Raiders fan. You know what it's like where your team acquires someone and you're told the team's going to be wonderful and then they end up being dreadful. The Raiders now are more of a circus than the Jets, so give credit to the Jets for getting out of the clown show. The Raiders are sitting there with the Indianapolis Colts. The Commanders are now out of the clown show because no longer Daniel Snyder's there. There's a few dysfunctional organizations around the league. Unfortunately,
Cardinals,
your team is one. The Cardinals is a great one. When you having a good eye for dysfunction and a good eye for false hope, 1 to 10, where's your confidence with the Jets?
I'd say it's about 7.5. I think it's pretty high. I think they'll definitely make the playoffs. I think they're definitely a 10-win team. Are they a 11 or 12-win team, and are they a Super Bowl contender? I think they're a little short of that. Obviously, you have the big 3 teams in the AFC. I think they're just a peg under those 3. the Bills, Bengals, and Chiefs. But they're right there, and if they get hot at the right time and Rodgers stays healthy, I think they can make a run at the AFC Championship. But I think they're just a titch under that.